Henny Espinosa. She's a 3-time Emmy Award-winning broadcast journalist with more than 2 decades of experience in this industry. And she wore many hats at ABS-CBN as senior reporter, news desk editor, and producer. And besides the Emmys, she also earned recognition with Teddy Awards, Paradise Award, New York Festival nominations, and the Greater Bay Area Journalism Award. So these are all the testimonies of Henny's dedication and outstanding to in community-focused storytelling. So with great pleasure, I want to introduce you Henny Espinosa. She is our guest host tonight. So please join me to welcome Henny.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Thank you. I appreciate it. Kamusta po kayong lahat? Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We are going to be discussing some of the most important matters and issues affecting our viewers and our utility consumers here in California. And to join us today, of course, is Regina Venson, who is one of the key voices in one of the largest energy providers in the country, PG&E. Regina, of course, is the Chief of Staff to the Chief Operating Officer of PG&E. And she will discuss with us candidly and thoroughly, challenges, responsibilities, and the different ways PG&E is really doing what they can to help out our consumers. Thank you, Regina, for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody who's here today.
Of course, and to our studio audience, palakpakan naman po natin ang ating sarili. Your presence here really shows this is so important for our community. Lahat po tayo apektado nito, hindi po ba? And today, of course, I would like to acknowledge the presence of some of our community leaders, starting with Jocelyn Manalo, of course, Councilwoman of Daly City. Francis Espiritu, publisher of Philippine News Today, as well as past president of the San Mateo County Filipino American Chamber, and Edwin Lozada, chair of the Hinabi Project. Thank you so much, everyone. Maraming salamat po sa pagpunta niyo dito. And of course, let me tell you more about Regina. Regina Venson, of course, is the Chief of Staff of PG&E's Chief Operating Officer. Like I mentioned, before joining PG&E in 2019, she lived in Sydney, Australia for 14 years. She has been admitted to practice law in both Australia and the Philippines, and has previously worked as a senior associate in top-tier law firms in both countries. And of course, she's a fellow alumna of UP Diliman, University of the Philippines. So, yan. Thank you, Regina. Thank you for joining us. We will be discussing so many issues today, so let's get to the bottom of things. Let's start with a very important question. Regina, bakit napakataas ng ating PG&E bill? Let's start with that question.
Ang ganda ng first question natin. It's actually a very good question to raise because, in PG&E, we recognize that customer affordability, high prices, including energy bills, is a key concern. But before I tell you the driver of all these higher energy costs, let me tell you 2 things that our customers may want to know. So the first one, we do not profit from your PG&E bills.
Okay.
We don't profit or make more money if we sell you more gas and electricity. In fact, we tell our customers, conserve energy. Yeah? And this is because what happens is that we have a regulator called the California Public Utilities Commission, or CPUC. And it's that regulator that tells us or lets us know what our rates are. And to determine what those rates are, we go through an open public process, and that process includes customer advocates and stakeholders. So we don't profit from PG&E bills, right? And any profits we make, 97% of that, we reinvest it back to the business. Okay, that's the first point. The second point, we don't increase our customer prices so we can pay executive compensation, like the salary of my boss, okay? We don't increase costs so that we can pay shareholder dividends. And we certainly don't use that money in order to pay any fines or penalties that our regulators impose on us. Those are taken from the authorized by the regulator rates and earnings. Primary driver for those increased costs, it's really because we have to reinvest into our equipment, in our energy system, so to make it more safe, reliable, and climate resilient.
Okay.
And we have to do that because many of you already know we have a lot of wildfires in California. The wildfire risk has increased through the years, right? And we need to ensure that our equipment functions under normal operating conditions, which includes maintenance and repair. So what happens is we have a lot of programs like undergrounding our power lines, or we have outages, planned and unplanned, to make sure that we protect our customers from wildfire risk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some people might question this, Regina, and say, bakit ako ang nagbabayad? Let's say I'm not in a high risk area for wildfires. Why am I paying for the higher cost?
Okay. Yes, that's a fair question, and we get asked that a lot. But maybe let me reframe that thinking in a different way. If we have lesser wildfires in California, it benefits all of the California residents. Because, you know, wildfire is not limited by a particular region, particular geographic area. When there's a wildfire, what happens? It impacts the safety of residents. It affects the financial health of businesses, right? It impacts public resources. It drains our first responder resources. And many of you may have experienced this, it impacts air quality and water quality. And in the long run, if we have lesser wildfires, what happens is that a lot of people benefit from an insurance perspective because we end up paying lesser insurance premiums. And that's why it's good for everybody if we have lesser wildfires.
Yeah, I've covered wildfires through the years as a journalist, and it's really devastating when you look at these communities, no? Talagang nakakaawa. What is PG&E doing when it comes to mitigating wildfire risk?
Oh, yes. So, one thing that makes it easy for us in the first place to determine which areas to focus on when we talk about wildfire mitigation is that our regulator and CAL FIRE produce this map. And in this map, they identify all the high fire risk areas. And that's where PG&E targets all of our wildfire mitigation efforts. And we do generally three things, right? The first one is situational awareness. The second one is operational mitigations. And the last one, long-term resiliency. So let's start. Let's go through each one, okay? The first one is situational awareness. Magandang term lang yan, but really para aware ka lang sa surroundings mo. And we do that by having high-definition cameras. So with these cameras, we can see more than 90% of our service area. And that allows us some visibility to determine where wildfire could happen. Okay, that's the first one. We also have a lot of weather stations around our service area, and that allows us to predict weather better. Right? And we always use artificial intelligence, just like a lot of other businesses. We use drones so we can see in places that are more difficult, like places with a lot of trees. So that's situational awareness. The second group of work that we do is what we call operational mitigations. Some of you would be familiar with this because you would experience it. In the Philippines, we call them brownout. But here, we call them outages. And there's two types of those. One is planned and another is unplanned. So those are the types of mitigations we do. And then long-term resiliency would be things like we manage our vegetation. Because sometimes wildfire risk starts if it's really dry, so we make sure that we cut the trees that are close to our power lines. We inspect those regularly. And more importantly, we also underground those power lines because that is a proven way of reducing wildfire risk.
Okay, so iba't ibang ways to really make sure that wildfire risk is mitigated. But let's talk about the enhanced power line safety settings, or EPSS that you mentioned. Power safety, power shut off, or PSPS. Ito yung mga power outages o brownout. Kung sa Pilipinas, let's talk about them one by one. First, what is EPSS?
Okay, enhanced power line safety settings. What happens here is that PG&E adjusted the safety settings of some of our power lines such that if something comes into contact or hits our power lines within 1/10 of a second, that power is shut off automatically. right? And that is a proven way of preventing any ignition. We stop wildfires even before they have a chance to start. The only issue with EPSS, because it's automatic, we cannot give you advance notification.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then the other one that you mentioned is public safety power shutoff. Also another type of brownout. But this one is planned. And this is a measure of last resort, Henny, because we don't do PSPS unless it's really severe weather. For example, if the National Weather Service issued a red flag warning, ayan ang example, kailangan talaga mag-PSPS kami. But the good thing about PSPS, we can give you advance notification. Yan.
And what are the ways that PG&E notifies its customers about these outages,
Yeah.
whether planned or unplanned?
Yes. So, we always send you a text message. So, kung EPSS, kung hindi namin kayo mabigyan ng advance notification, kapag alam na namin na merong outage, we do give you notification while we're doing the restoration. And the other thing about EPSS, what we do, after the outage, we send out a crew to inspect and figure out what went wrong here. Was it a branch? Was it an animal that touched? Sometimes we can't determine kasi yung mga dahon o branches na nahulog dun sa power line, nandun na lahat on the floor and we can't figure out which one. We will notify you and say that currently hindi namin ma-determine kung ano yung cause, but pag ma-determine namin, we'll let you know. Plus, we also notify customers ano yung mga planned improvements namin na pwedeng gawin doon. So we definitely notify to the extent that we can beforehand and also during. So PSPS, we can definitely notify you a few days before, during, and then we tell you the estimated time of restoration.
So besides these notifications, what should customers expect during and after an outage?
Yeah, so during and after an outage, you'll be able to expect notifications from us, right? We will be able to tell you when we will be able to restore power so that alam naman kasi namin na inconvenience so you can also prepare.
Yeah, that's great, that's great. Anything more that we need to know about PSPS?
Well, public safety power shutoffs, as much as possible, we really don't want to do that unless it's absolutely necessary. So apart from National Weather Service issuing a red flag warning, it's things like, towards the end of summer, hot, windy days, or yung halumigmig, talagang low humidity, tapos tuyong-tuyo yung ground, tapos in-inspect namin na sobrang tuyo, and all these things together indicates na, it will impact the safety of our residents and businesses. That's when we turn the power off. But we give you notification beforehand.
Ano ang differences? What are the other differences that we could talk about between EPSS, which is the unplanned, and the PSPS, which is planned?
Well, iba yung kanilang drivers for us making the decision para magkaroon ng outage. Yung EPSS, yung unplanned, automatic, di ba? Within 1/10 of a second, as soon as mag-touch doon sa aming power line, and naka-safety setting yung aming power lines, namamatay yung kuryente. But we will give you notification as we continue with the restoration process. For PSPS naman, merong mga specific triggers yan bago namin patayin yung kuryente, yung binanggit ko kanina. Yung particular dyan is the red flag warning. Kung talagang masama na talaga yung weather, that's when we turn them off. And we give you notification for the entire process.
Okay. So besides the notification, what other support can PG&E customers get when they're impacted by PSPS?
Well, if they're impacted by PSPS, what happens is we open what we call community resource centers. And these are just centers where you can do basic charging of your medical devices, or you can bring your phones there. And we also have some basic food, water, ADA accessible bathrooms. We make those available. And we take care of our access and functional needs, customers as well. For those who need help, for example, if you're in a wheelchair, we provide services to them. Sometimes we provide transportation, food stipends, hotel stipends if necessary.
So as the need arises,
yes,
PG&E is there.
Correct.
Okay, that's great. Okay, let's talk about talagang being proactive. If I live in a high-risk area, or impacted by EPSS or PSPS in the past, how can I better prepare for future power outage due to wildfire risk?
Well, PG&E has a lot of programs to ensure that our customers are able to prepare for wildfire risk, especially if you live in a high fire risk area. So let me mention one program, which is the Portable Battery Program. So if you have a qualifying medical device for a qualifying medical condition, we will be able to give you a free portable battery so you can charge your medical devices. For example, if you have somebody in the household who is a paraplegic and is dependent on a medical device for sustaining that life, we are able to give you assistance for things like that. So that's an example of us providing batteries. But for other things that where you don't qualify for that program, we also have rebates for if you want to get a generator and it's a generator that qualifies within the program, we provide a rebate of up to about $7,500. It's things like that. Battery storage is another one.
Eto, Regina, ito ba marirecommend mo? Kailangan bang meron tayong emergency preparedness kit?
Ay, ang ganda
And
ng
what
tanong.
should be in it? Di ba sinasabi na, kailangan dapat may kit ako in times of emergency, but not
Yes.
everyone really prepares for
That's
it.
true. That's true.
So what should be included? Should we really take that advice and prepare?
You should take that. Do you have one? Do you have a good? Okay. Okay, let's talk about it. You should. You should have one. You should have one.
Let us take note because this is really important. This is
Okay.
as simple as having that one bag that you
Yes.
need
Yes.
in times of emergency and what should be in it.
Okay, let's start with two things. First, as much as possible, use a waterproof bag. We call that a go bag, for short. And place it in a location that's easily accessible, so you don't forget where it is, okay? And these are samples of things that you should put in your go bag. You have to put some water. There should be water. Non-perishable food items like canned goods. Like in my go bag, I have Spam. It's tocino flavor, so I put it there. But I also have regular Spam, diba? Meron yan. Fork, spoon, knives, bottle opener.
Maglagay ng mga afritada dyan sa adobo, ha?
Non-perishable lang.
Non-perishable.
Non-perishable. And then, yung mga basic medication ninyo, prescription, important phone numbers. It's good to have these important documents there also. Toiletries, mahalaga. First aid kit. And if you have any prescribed medications, maglagay kayo ng stash doon. I mean, blankets are good. A set of clothing will be good. Mga iba pang mahalaga, battery. If you can have batteries. Handheld radios, because that's another means of communicating, diba? And then kung gusto nyong umasa na may kuryente somewhere, like our community resource centers, you can bring chargers kung gusto ninyo. So these are examples of things that you can put in your go bag.
The community resource centers, can they find more information about that, where that's located? I think
Yes.
that's also important to know.
Absolutely. If you go to our website, pge.com, you'll be able to look at a map that will identify locations of the CRCs or community resource centers.
Okay. May iba pa bang dapat malaman ang ating Filipino community in terms of what PG&E can do for them, especially in times of emergency?
Yes, minsan sa atin kasi di ba mahirap mag-English or nahihirapan tayong mag-express in a language other than Tagalog. And we recognize that in PG&E. We want to ensure that our customers speak with us or hear us in a manner that's close to their heart. So we do translation services for our customers. So kung tumawag kayo, kunyari, meron kayong question sa PG&E, di ba? Sasabihin nyo, I want to speak in Tagalog, we will give you a Tagalog interpreter. Yeah, and then if you want text messages and emails to be in the language that you prefer, if you notify us that that's the language you want to receive that notification, we will provide that.
For example, since we were talking about income, marami din kasi sa mga kababayan natin ang nawalan ng trabaho o naghihirap ngayon, tumaas yung kanilang utility bills. If they cannot afford, let's talk about CARE, they can apply for that?
They can apply for various programs in PG&E, especially for hardship.
Okay.
Yeah, and they get to be assessed based on the documentation that you
So a
submit.
case-to-case basis, but they can certainly know more about that through the website.
Yes, through pge.com.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
One of the big things about PG&E is renewable energy. We rely on not just solar, we also have wind, we also have nuclear power plants, we also have hydro, so power generation. The important thing about a smart grid is that we have all these different sources of energy working together so we can provide for our customers. And hopefully at a lower cost. And if our proposal with our CPUC is approved, then we're looking at maybe projecting that the combined residential bill will go down by 1% next year compared to this year. So that's just one of the benefits using all these sources of energy.
Thank you so much, Regina. But I mean, stay with us because I'm sure may mga katanungan ng ating studio audience. So we would like to now open the floor to questions from our audience.
There has been public service announcements from PG&E about what they're doing about wildfires. And one of them was the underground wiring process in high fire areas, especially heavily wooded areas. How's that going, especially in Northern California where it would most affect us?
Yes, that's a really good question because undergrounding is one of the key projects that we have, and it's a proven method of reducing wildfire risk. We have undergrounded so far 875 miles of our power lines, and next year we expect to do several hundred more. Our ultimate target is to underground 10,000 miles of our power lines, and we're doing really well at this point.
So you mentioned about, for medical devices, battery storage. So how do you qualify? Is it an income? I mean, if you're on a high-risk area, or if it's a brownout, if it's just a short brownout. So like, we have a lot of our extended family, our uncles, the manang, the grandma, and some of them rely on their machines or their CPAP. So how do they qualify? Is it an income-driven or?
Yeah. Thank you for the question. So it depends on the program. The portable battery program that I mentioned earlier, that's not income-based. So that one applies if you have a qualifying medical condition as determined by your doctor. You give us a certification about that, and it has to be a qualifying medical device. And you'll see it, yung qualifying medical device, it's things like dialysis machines, right? And so yan yun. And your area must have experienced either EPSS or PSPS. Yan. Marami po kaming iba pang mga programa na hindi naman qualifying medical device pero income-based naman. And those two, the primary ones are called CARE and the other one is FERA. CARE po, we provide monthly discounts up to 20%. That is based on income and that is based on the number of people in your household. So if you don't qualify for that, you can qualify for FERA, which is the other program. It's a lower rate but only for electricity. It's 18% discount on your monthly bill.
Okay. Yeah. Regina, for example, since we were talking about income, marami din kasi sa mga kababayan natin ang nawalan ng trabaho o naghihirap ngayon, tumaas yung kanilang utility bills. If they cannot afford, let's talk about CARE, they can apply for that?
They can apply for various programs in PG&E, especially for hardship.
Okay.
And they get to be assessed based on the documentation that you submit.
So a case-to-case basis, but they can certainly know more about that through the website.
Yes, through pge.com.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Henny, and maraming salamat po for being here. PG&E.com is a great way for you to get information, and really, we are just one phone call away. If you have any questions in relation to your bill, in relation to how to conserve energy, if you want an energy efficiency audit, if you want to know more about, hey, I want to save a little bit on my bill, what are the programs available for me, please give us a call. If you want somebody to speak to you in Tagalog, we are here. It may not be me, but it's probably going to be somebody else, but we are here to help. So salamat po.
Maraming salamat, PG&E. Thank you so much for gathering, everyone. Palakpakan po natin ang ating mga sarili for being here because it shows our concern, and not just for our own households, but for our community. We're representing our community. Maraming salamat, PG&E.
Thank you.
For all the information that you have given us. May that give us peace of mind at saka make us also proactive to prepare for any disaster. Outages, wildfire season na. But kailan ang wildfire season?
Well, it's dati May to November, but now you never know because of climate change. It just depends on,
I mean, we're experiencing one of the coldest summers in the Bay Area right now, but you can never really tell right now with the weather changes. But thank you, PG&E, for giving us all this information. Maraming salamat, KTSF. Thank you to our audience members. Napakasaya po at nagsama-sama tayo, and we're learning a lot about what we can do in our own homes, in our own communities. Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure. Again, my name is Henny Espinosa. Magkita-kita tayo pong muli. Maraming salamat.